You're losing money if you're not scoring your leads and categorizing them into these 3 buckets. And in this training, I'm gonna show you exactly why. I recently audited a coaching business that was doing around $6 million per year and spending about $1.5 million on ads. Now, from the outside, everything looked great. All of their high-level metrics looked totally fine. They were getting calls booked and they were closing deals. But when I actually sat down with the owners and asked them how they felt about their current level of growth with where they're at right now, they told me something I hear all the time. They said that they felt like they should be doing way more, but they don't necessarily know where their blind spots are, and they don't know if they're missing out on sales. They don't know if their marketing could be better, if their sales process could be better. And it's something that's so common in these coaching businesses that are under 8 figures. So we ran a deep audit into their acquisition system. And what I found is something that is so common for businesses at this level. And by the end of this training, you're gonna see exactly how to fix this, what we did in this instance and what you can go and do in your own business. So here's what we're gonna be covering. First, how a simple lead scoring system that we put in place for this business helped them unlock an additional 6 to 7 million in new revenue without spending more on ads. Then we're going to go over our 3-tiered lead scoring system that actually tells you exactly which leads are worth spending your time on and which ones aren't. And then lastly, we'll be going through the step-by-step process on how you can implement this into your business. So let's dive in. So here's the problem. Most businesses think that they just need more leads in order to scale. But what they actually need is a system that allows them to stop wasting their time on the wrong leads. So what I want to go through is some of the data from that business I audited. Because they were spending a good amount of money on ads, they were booking calls, right? They were generating leads, they were getting calls booked, and they were closing deals. But for them, they particularly didn't really understand what good benchmarks were and what standard KPIs were for this type of product they were selling and this type of business model in the coaching space in order for them to know, are we up against market standards? Are we doing better than the market? Are we below average in the market, or where are we with our current numbers, right? And so when I'm looking at this and I went and put all the data together, and by the way, the data was a mess. They had 10 different sources that were kind of tracking all their data. So it took about 2 weeks to actually work with a lot of different members on their team to go and put all of the right numbers together and figuring out where to even go and grab this data from in the first place, just because it was so all over the place, right? Now, when I'm going through and actually analyzing the data like this, what I'm always starting with is the high level metrics and seeing what they have in place right now. And then what I take is the lead to close rate. And so you take the total number of closes divided by the total number of leads generated. And for them, for example, you can see that that was less than 1%. In fact, it wasn't even a 0.5%. It was about 40.47%. That means that out of every 1,000 leads that comes in, only 4 to 5 of them become a client. And so when I'm looking at that, the bells in my head are going off and I'm starting to see, okay, well, there's obviously something wrong in both the marketing process with the leads that are coming in and the efficiency on the sales side with what the sales process actually is, taking a lead down to a closed deal and moving them through the pipeline at every single stage, right? So where is the disconnect? And so that's what we're going to be focusing on going through the next steps here. And by us looking at these numbers first, it's super easy for us to see that there's already a lot of big inefficiencies that are causing that lead to close rate to be less than 1%. If you are below 1%, you are in big trouble. And this is why so many businesses really, kind of stay stuck and feel stuck at this level, because they don't really know what the standard KPI should be. And on top of that, what they can do to actually bump those numbers up. More leads won't fix this problem, but better leads will. And so the question becomes, well, how do we start getting better leads? And obviously what that looks like is, it's a marketing issue. You need to change your messaging and change your marketing so that you're actually speaking to the right types of people. But you can only do that if you deploy this 3-tiered lead scoring system so that you can actually run a proper diagnostic on the quality of your leads that you're currently getting, right? And so that's how we fix the lead quality issue first, is by actually tracking it so that we can make data-based decisions. So how do we do this? Well, there's 2 factors that determine how a lead actually gets scored. One is the engagement score, so how much they're actually interacting with you, if they're already in your ecosystem, if they're clicking on more links, if they're consuming more content, if they're going through some of your other programs or free resources, whatever it is, clicking links in your emails, all of that, watch time on certain videos, then that's going to start to increase their score if they are more active. Now, the second part to that is their application score. So if they actually filled out an application to book a call with you, how are you grading that score and how are you actually weighting certain answers on that application? Now, once we track this, every single lead will fall into one of 3 categories, okay? And they do this because we give them what we call a lead fit combo score, which basically takes their score out of those 2 different categories of application score and engagement score, and we give them one score that then allows them to drop into one of these 3 buckets. Tier 1 is a DQL, or a disqualified lead, meaning they're not a good fit, you don't really want to work with them, you can't really help them, and it's really just a waste of time to spend too much effort and energy on them. Now, you might have some other low ticket products or some free resources, or you can add them to your newsletter, whatever it is, to nurture them long term and hope that they eventually get back into a position to where they can afford to work with you, or they have the time available to work with you, or maybe they weren't even just qualified in the right industry, whatever it is. But the goal is that you are taking those people immediately out of your top priority leads, okay? Tier 2 is a minimum qualified lead. It's someone who meets your minimum qualification to be your client. Now, they're a good fit, they might need a little nurturing. Either way, based on the data from their application and their engagement score, they fit your minimum criteria. And tier 3 is super qualified leads, or SQLs. These are your dream clients. These are the people who are ready to buy. They have a very fast timeline and they are ready to go. Now, if the majority of your leads are DQLs, then guess what? Your marketing is broken and your sales team is going to be wasting a lot of time talking to the wrong people, which just hurts your revenue and hurts your overall conversion rates, like it was doing to this company that we did this audit on. And as you can see on this chart right here, as we started scoring their leads in their current system, 80%, over 80% were actually DQLs, right? Disqualified leads. And with their current CRM setup, they did not have a way to prioritize who the MQLs and the SQLs actually were, right? Who the minimum qualified and super qualified leads actually were. And they weren't prioritizing all of their outreach efforts towards those highest qualified leads first. And so their overall efficiency as a team was super, super low because of this. And so it was bringing in way too many people who were really at the bottom of their market, right? Someone that they couldn't really fit, way too many DQLs by the standards that they had set for their own internal team to actually go and help people that they are best at serving and can actually get results for, right? So if we look at what actually happened then just a few months later, I believe this was about 2 months later, after then making those necessary changes, because we knew that marketing had to change first, and then that's going to bring a huge influx of more MQLs through the door. Things obviously followed. All the dominoes fell in place right after that. The lead to close rate increased by a total of 300%, right? Before, if we go back up here, it was at 0.47%, right? 286 divided by total leads of 61,000 is about 0.47%. And so after implementing this and actually tracking it, and then knowing, because we're tracking it, we can go back and figure out what has to change. Just the lead to close rate alone within those 2 to 3 months massively jumped up, right? A 300% increase. And so if we look at some more of these stats and KPIs and conversion rates, we can take a look at the call funnel stats first, where this company is running a 2-call process, and their first call is a discovery call. Second call, if they are deemed then qualified from that first call, they move them to the demo stage and they actually go through some of the details in the pitch, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Don't have to go into all that stuff. But if we look at what things were at prior, first of all, their discovery call show rate was only 39%. Their discovery call taken to then a demo booked, so their conversion from first call to second call, was 29%, which means they are spending way too much time prior, right? They were spending so much time on all of the wrong people that they were not moving 71% of them to that next stage. And so obviously that's a big red flag of they're talking to the wrong types of people, or it could also be a sales quality issue, which in this case, it ended up being a little bit of both, but more so on the marketing side. And that's going to be the case for most companies. So discovery call show rate, 39%. Discovery call taken to demo booked conversion rate, so converting from call 1 to call 2, 29%. Now, if we go look at what this jumped up to, there's an immediate lift, right? The show rate jumped up from 39% to 61%, and the conversion rate from call 1 to call 2 went from 29% to 58%. And this is all because you can see the number of MQLs went up, right? Prior, it was 81%, and then after, the DQLs, so the disqualified lead amount, went all the way down to 55%. And so just by increasing the number of MQLs that are coming in, right? Here was before, 81% DQLs. Here's after, 55% MQLs. Sorry, 55% DQLs. Look at that difference. Huge huge jump. And obviously revenue is going to follow after that, right? There's obviously a massive increase and it's still going up, and they're still trying to figure out how to stabilize at this new level of normal just because of only looking at the lead quality side, right? And increasing the number of MQLs coming in. And again, no extra ad spend. This is all just refining the existing system. So if you're feeling stuck, or your sales team is spinning their wheels saying, oh, marketing's bringing in bad leads, sales can't close these leads, you can't fix what you don't track. So the first step is always to track anything that you want to start working on and optimizing. And then you'll have really, really clear answers as to what needs to be worked on. So then how do you go and implement this into your business? So here's how you can set up all of this for yourself. I'm sure you already have some sort of criteria as to who's qualified and who's not. But what I want you to do is actually start defining your lead scoring criteria. Start really working on, what makes someone a good fit? What is that minimum threshold of how you can do that? Start setting that clear criteria for your DQLs, your MQLs, and your SQLs. What we usually do is base this out of 100 points. And this is a dynamically updating score that increases or decreases as time goes on based on how much they're engaging. And if they have a super high engagement score, but then they come in later and submit an application and it's really bad, obviously their score will go down. So there is a little bit of science and math involved to this. I would recommend you use the old ChatGPT to help you start actually formatting how to do this based on what your CRM is. And if you need help, feel free to reach out. We can definitely give you some more resources and walk you through what to do in the sense of setting up your lead scoring, the formulas, the calculations, all of that stuff. But just know different actions have different points assigned to them, and it is going to be dynamically updating. And so you need to set the criteria for, in order for someone to be an MQL, they have to have a minimum of, call it 45 points. In order for someone to be an SQL, a super qualified lead, they need to have a minimum of 80 points or whatever it is, right? So on and so forth. Same with DQL. They are, call it 30 points and below, whatever. You just need to figure out of 100 points, what that is going to be for you. And it's going to take a little bit of testing to start to actually see what is working, what the data is telling you, if it's actually scoring your leads accurately. This is usually what happens is you put it in place, you set up the lead scoring, and you run traffic through it, and then you evaluate the leads that are coming through to make sure that it's actually scoring correctly. And so it's not going to be perfect the first time you do it. You're going to have to make iterations, so just remember that. But this is going to drastically help you start to have some of that super detailed qualitative data, so then you can see, okay, where are we really lacking? Is this our marketing team that needs to get better, or is this our sales team that needs to get better? And then you can make decisions from there. Last piece I'll say on the marketing side of this, your marketing and your messaging needs to be specifically tailored to your SQLs and your MQLs, obviously. Now, I'm sure you're running your marketing, you're running your ads right now with that in mind. And of course, any ad is always going to bring in people who are less than your minimum qualified lead. However, you need to actually go back now and think, okay, well, once we start tracking this data and looking at the results that it's giving us, clearly, if we're attracting this many DQLs, then there's something wrong. We're speaking to people incorrectly, or we're not conveying the right message. There's obviously some sort of disconnect between what you think you're doing and what you actually need to be doing to speak to those right people. So my final thoughts on this: don't be like most businesses who think they just need more leads and that's how they're going to scale, when in reality, they just need better leads and a way to track their actual lead quality. And if you're not tracking this, then you're just guessing, and it's costing you a lot of money. Now, that being said, if you want us to do an audit like this into your business, where we will dive into all of the data from top to bottom, looking at your leads, looking at your marketing, looking at your sales processes, we will put together a super detailed report that's going to expose all the uglies, all the terrifyings, all of the drop-off points in your business that are costing you money. And then we're going to give you a game plan for what you need to do to actually go and fix those things. Just like we did for this business here that exposed a lot of drop-off points and gave them an instant path to recoup an additional $6 million. So if you want that, just click the link in the description, go grab your audit, fill out the form, and I'll see you over there. Peace.